Hello and welcome to this episode of World Business Special. On this edition, we examine the strategic direction of one of the world's leading hospitality groups, Marriott International, and its role in the evolving global tourism economy. With more than 8,000 properties worldwide, the group's reach makes it a significant player in how cities, regions, and entire markets position themselves for growth. As travel patterns shift and new destinations emerge, companies like Marriott are having to adapt, balancing local expectations, digital innovation, and long-term investment planning. Azerbaijan is one of those emerging destinations, with Baku attracting increasing interest from both regional and global travelers. The country's tourism strategy then is entering a critical phase, supported in part by international hotel brands helping shape its global appeal. Well, to explore that further, we sat down with two of Marriott's senior executives, Sandeep Walia and Pankaj Birla, in the presidential suite, no less, of the Ritz-Carlton Baku. Their portfolios span Eastern Europe and the Middle East, respectively, offering valuable insight into how Marriott views its role in connecting new destinations to the global travel economy. Let's go to that conversation right now. Sandeep, thank you so much for joining us, and welcome to Baku, if I'm allowed to say that.
Absolutely, I'm super excited to be here. I've been hearing about the city so much and how much it's expanding and growing. So finally, really happy to be here.
You've got this vast remit, like other members of the senior leadership team. Could you just give us a sense of how the different regions differ in the work you do, what you notice about those markets? So the Middle East, for example, Gulf countries versus where we are today and this sort of Central Asian, South Caucasus region.
Yeah, so I think, first of all, I would say it's a very common platform in the sense that all our guests who come to our hotels, they're traveling, and this travel or the hunger for travel, especially when we look at the leisure side of business or the luxury side of business, has only grown. It was a trend which was anyway growing, and it started where more and more people were moving from product to experiences. But I think this whole COVID, and I'm happy to say now post-COVID era, it only got speeded up. So we're kind of seeing this hunger for travel continue, people wanting to spend more time with the family, and kind of going for those experiences that they've never gone for. So that's a common denominator. And I would say that even when people are traveling for business today, I refer to leisure, but even business travelers today want hopefully to get some time out, and kind of bit of a overused word, leisure, but they want to get a little bit of leisure time. And when they're on leisure, they are doing their work as well. So I think in all segments we are seeing this. So this would be a common platform, whether it's Middle East, Europe, or Africa. So I wear three hats. One is, of course, that I look after all the brands for Middle East. We have seen a very healthy growth in Middle East, and I think more and more people want to discover their places they haven't gone. So we've seen that growth happen in Middle East. So when we look at the Middle East market itself, we're talking about three big markets. One is UAE, which has grown for us a lot, with Dubai in particular. Kingdom of Saudi Arabia is growing a lot. We would like UAE, where we have crossed 100 hotels. We would, by end of this year, be crossing 100 there too. And when we look at Turkey, it's similar. We would be soon signing our 100th hotel in Turkey as well. And when you move to this part of the world, similarly, there's a lot of growth coming in. The numbers might look different, but we have, both in terms of the luxury space and premium hotels growing in Baku as well, in this part of the city. But overall, when we look at it, luxury is certainly a big growth for us in Europe, Middle East, and now Africa.
It's interesting there that you mentioned luxury, obviously a huge part of your portfolio. What is luxury in 2025? Has it changed? You know, when we think of luxury, perhaps do we think of something now that involves ethics, ecotourism? Do people have different ideas of what luxury is?
Yes, they do. But I'll go back to the brilliant basics. Everybody expects absolutely cleanliness is the basic, and interesting when you talk to people and guests, that's kind of their bare minimum, and it keeps coming back to. The second would be that authenticity which is there, which the expectations are increasing. We often talk about the fact that as easy it has become today to make people physically travel from one place to another, equally more difficult it has become to make them travel emotionally or feel the emotions, because expectations are growing. So something that was a wow yesterday is unexpected today. So the first time I come to Ritz-Carlton Baku, where we are sitting today, something that wows me would be the basic the next time. So expectations keep increasing. So we have, of course, found that. But authenticity is at the center of luxury service for sure. And about creating those experiences, because at the end of the day, we often talk about the fact that we're not in the business of only selling rooms or a gin and tonic. It's about the business selling experiences.
It's very interesting that I certainly recognise that as a customer, that no matter how great the technology is, no matter how fine the details are, that it comes down to the people, doesn't it? People who are able to connect with other people and deliver a sense of sincerity, authenticity, as you say.
100%. End of the day, for us, the most important are our people. End of the day, let's break this down quickly for a minute. If you take a hotel which has 200 rooms, and let's say you have 400 ladies and gentlemen, hosts, talent, associates, we call them with different names and different brands, but each one of them would at least have 10 engagements, if not more, with the guest. And every engagement either adds to that bank or depletes from that bank of the brand. End of the day, we own hotels and our people really bring it to life. It's them. And therefore, it's most important for us that we are truly empowering them to create these memories, so to speak.
Now, as I've got someone from the senior leadership team in front of me, I ought to ask you about the strategy for the group. Such a famous name, been around for almost 100 years. When you look at the next phase of the group's strategy, what are the key priorities coming into sort of 2026, 2027?
As we just spoke about, the first would be the focus on our people. Because if we want to grow, which is going to be my second point, but we have to grow through our people. And therefore, the focus on our people would remain to be our biggest priority. The second would be growth. If you look at it globally, when I talk about Marriott, we are more than 9,500 hotels. We have our loyalty program, which has grown very well. We're about over 230 million members. And that's not a small number, because when you look at it, it'll be the population of UK, Germany, Italy, and another country. You're talking 230 million. So we have a good base of guests who want to try different places they've never been to. So we certainly continue to see growth being a big, important factor for us. So the first I mentioned people, the second is growth. And even in the luxury space, we were just talking about luxury. We are over 650 hotels today globally. And when we narrow down to the continent which I look after and where we are sitting, Europe, Middle East, and Africa, next year we'll be touching 200 hotels. And they've grown in all directions. So the growth will continue to be a very important part of our strategy. And we are also starting to see a lot of brand extensions. So let's take, sitting in Ritz-Carlton Baku, let's take Ritz-Carlton as an example. So we have 112 hotels, but we've extended in different parts. So we got into yachts. We were the first ones to get into the yacht business. With Ritz-Carlton, we started the first one 3 years back. 3 years later, we're now, just as we speak today, We are doing a countdown to the opening of the third Ritz-Carlton yacht. So clearly a success. We've seen a good interest in the luxury lodge business in Africa. So on the 15th of August, we are opening our first Ritz-Carlton Masai Mara, which is right at the border of Kenya and Tanzania. So that's going to be our first one. We already have 2 more signed with the Ritz-Carlton brand. We look at residences, which are growing a lot, branded residences. And guests want to, they want to go, and they're in love with a particular brand or 2 or 3 brands. They want to feel it, they want to enjoy it, they love the space so much so that they want to now live in that space. So we are looking at a lot of growth in branded residences, both in Europe and in Middle East. And Ritz-Carlton is dominating in that space too.
That's fascinating. So this sort of this romantic idea, almost from the 1970s, of celebrities living in the Ritz Hotel, and there's a sense that that kind of glamour almost is coming back.
Absolutely, it is, and people want to be part of that space, or that space to be a part of you. For them, it gives them the guarantee of service or the authenticity what Ritz-Carlton comes with. For the developer, it's great because it brings them the premium to sell the branded residences. So we saw a lot of this growth happening in US first. We've seen a lot of growth in Middle East, but here we are, Ritz-Carlton in Baku. We're looking at growth in the future in residences too.
It's a fascinating trend there. Do you think there's something in the fact that perhaps because as we travel more, we become less attached to home ownership, and really we're just looking for a place to be for a relatively short space of time? Is our behaviour kind of driving that trend, do you think?
I would say it's both. So when we look at our branded business in terms of residences, we have both. We have something called extended stay. So a hotel like Ritz-Carlton in Dubai, DFC, you could be renting a 1-bedroom to 3-bedroom in the Ritz-Carlton space with a kitchenette and paying on a monthly basis. There are other standalones or attached to hotels where you could buy a residence and that becomes your own apartment or your own villa which you're living in, but that you bought that and it's all yours to live in. So we have both business models.
Fascinating. Sandeep, it's a real pleasure to speak to you, and thank you very much for taking the time to speak to us here in Baku.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Pankaj, it's great to speak to you. You also have this hugely broad remit. You look after hotels from Prague all the way through Tashkent, Astana, including Baku, where we are today. Give us your sense of this region and what you feel about its future potential.
Well, first of all, good morning, Guy. Great to be here, and thank you for taking the time. I've been involved in this region for now almost 7 years. And to start with, I'm really energized by the momentum we see in this part of the world, especially in Central Asia and Caucasus. It's wonderful to see the growth we have as a company, but more importantly, it's the people part that energizes me. And the young population, the young adults in this part of the world who really want to move forward and make a difference. And that to me gives me the most energy. And when I travel, I see so many similarities. A couple of weeks ago, I was in Uzbekistan, and we are looking at opening a JW Marriott potentially by the end of the year. And I saw the people here, and last night we were walking in Port Baku here, and I was seeing young people having coffee and tea. So going back, it's the energy and the momentum that you feel here. And I strongly feel when you see these young people around, it gives you the feeling the future is bright.
And I guess the future bright too in terms of careers, staff development. I mean, we talk a lot about customers, but also the people that work so hard to create these experiences. I mean, you must spend a lot of time working with colleagues, developing them, helping them to get even better at doing that work.
To start with, when I look at our ladies and gentlemen at the Ritz-Carlton Baku where we are today, or I look at our associates who work in different hotels in Eastern Europe, and especially again focusing on Caucasus and Central Asia, the folks here are just naturally hospitable. They really want to go out and make a difference. And authenticity and genuineness that we talk about, genuine care is something we talk a lot about at the Ritz-Carlton. It comes naturally, you know, and they really want to make a difference. And especially for our guests, when they come to our hotels in this part of the world, they are truly, truly excited to see the guest experience that we can offer to them. And it's, you know, we train them. Obviously, we have great training programs.
How do you train that? Because I've often wondered, because it's such a subtle art, isn't it? When I was walking downstairs, people were making a point. There was a member of staff downstairs, and it was unclear whether we were both close enough to acknowledge each other, but he still made a point of saying good morning. You know, they're really, there's a real art to doing that. And it's not about overt deference. It is more about an authentic connection, isn't it? How do you go about training that in people?
You know, one of the big guiding principles for Marriott as a corporation is our culture. You know, being a 98-year-old company, in a couple of years, you're going to celebrate 100 years. It's very much a family-oriented culture that we try to create in our hotels. And when we hire our associates or ladies and gentlemen in our hotels or talent in our different hotels, we look for folks who really are genuine and authentic. And we have, I gotta give it to our teams, to our general managers, to our leaders in the hotel who have grown up. And we look for that skill and we look for that trait. And I always say, you know, in life, attitude determines your altitude. So we look for the right attitude. You know, it's not about the greatest education or the greatest, but if the attitude is right, we are confident we'll make a difference. And to compound it and to make it happen, we have great training programs, which are to the extent that we train our ladies and gentlemen here in the hotel in how to make sure that you come across genuine, but at the same time, you've been trained to be genuine. And it's something that we reinforce every day in our morning lineups that we do in our hotels. And as leaders in the hotel, starting with me or starting with our general managers, we all lead by example. And then when they see us, and finally, I just want to add one piece to this thing, you know, humbleness. This is a key leadership trait that we train in our leaders. And I think that goes a long way in creating a strong culture where the ladies and gentlemen or our employees in the hotel or our associates really want to work hard to make a difference.
Very, very interesting. And I suppose the other thing that makes a huge difference too is the partnerships that you necessarily have to develop and nurture with government, private sector. I mean, your leadership spans 24 different countries across the region. How important is it to work with government bodies to help them understand what it is you're trying to achieve?
It's a great question, Guy. You know, as I travel around East, you know, first of all, it's really comforting that the governments in all these countries have recognized that hospitality or tourism is a key driver to their gross domestic product or their GDP growth. So I'll give you an example. In Hungary recently, we did a program where we picked up 12 young kids from a local university. We have tied up with them, and we have developed a program where they work in our hotel for 6 months, and then they go to university for 6 months, and they do that for 2 years. And then after that program is over, we bring them permanently on. And it's a pilot program that we have done in Hungary, but this is something I'm going to try to expand more now. We are looking at a similar program like that in Georgia, and now in Azerbaijan, we are going to look at a similar program. So there is this, what I can just say is governments in all these countries are very, very keen on partnering with us in terms of developing the local talent. And today you're at the Ritz-Carlton Baku. where 95% of our ladies and gentlemen are all local Azeri nationals.
Oh, amazing. Loyalty is one area where technology can come together with that authenticity that you described. Tell us about the loyalty scheme, how you're using data to make sure that regular customers can always get experiences that they particularly enjoy.
For us, again, you've heard of Marriott Bonvoy, and I hope you're a member of Marriott Bonvoy. It's a loyalty program. Today we have got close to 240 million members. It is the #1 loyalty program today in the industry, and we are very proud of it. And with that, we can shape our guest experiences. We figure out their preferences. We make sure that we can individualize it. And in today's world, I would say luxury is that how we can offer personalized experiences to every guest. So if you have kids, how do we make sure when you arrive at the hotel with your kids that we are not just making sure that you and your wife have a wonderful experience, but we also try to figure out how we're going to make sure your kids are going to remember and going to say, well, Dad, next time we're going to go stay at the Ritz-Carlton Baku. And that to me is what it's all about. And that's what we are focusing on a lot with the data that we are able to capture. And what Marriott has done successfully is not only partner with, for example, we were partnering in UK with Man United, we have partnered with F1. So Marriott Bonvoy is showing up in more places in terms of, so our members around the world don't only associate Marriott Bonvoy with Marriott hotels, but they also see it in different places they're going. If they're at a stadium, they're at a concert, you may see a Marriott Bonvoy popping up.
That's very interesting. So it's less about the physical asset and more about the experience that you're providing.
Absolutely, Guy. You hit it on the nail. It's all about the experiences. And more, just to really, after COVID, we have seen that everybody's looking for more and more experiences.
And looking ahead then, what is in the near future for this region? What's important? What are you trying to make happen in partnership with governments? And what are you asking your general managers to do over the next 12, 24 months?
First of all, grow. I'm personally very energized by this region and by the future and by the young talent that is out here. So that to me is one most important thing. And then the government in this part of the world, all the governments are keen to partner with us to, more importantly, drive tourism. Today, if I look around this part of the world, Azerbaijan with wonderful hotels that we have 7 hotels and we're going to add a couple more in the coming years. And the tourism is growing. I love the visa regime that Azerbaijan has that allows for guests to come from around the world very easily into the country. And the country has a lot to offer. Similarly, I see that similar trend across. So one of my asks that when I travel around, when I speak to our local government, local mayors, how do you make the travel easy? When somebody arrives at the airport, how do they get through passport control very easily? How do they get to their hotels very easily? What kind of local infrastructure do you have? Do you have good taxi service? How are the airports? So just the basics. Once you get the basics right, the history and what this part of the world has to offer is amazing.
And strategically, just something that's always interested me is the on LinkedIn. Very often you'll hear these sort of short comments where they'll talk about the future is just trying to get customers from China and India. I mean, I presume that there's more to it than that your strategy is more nuanced.
Again, one of the things that we like to focus on is, it's just not, as you were to use nuance, it's not just nuance where China and India are the fastest growing economies and everybody's talking about them. But for us, we're looking at everything around us. There's great countries who are prospering: Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan, Georgia, Turkey, Europe, there's direct connectivity. So one of the key data that I encourage my general managers to use is very basic. Let's go back and look at where are all the planes coming from, and do we have some kind of a campaign to target those markets? And then you drill it down to the fact, okay, wow, from Istanbul there is 5 flights a day. So that's where the biggest opportunity is. So to me, a lot of it is about common sense and not trying to put all your eggs in one basket.
Very interesting. Well, it's been a delight to speak to you. Thank you very much indeed for sharing those insights with us today.
No, Guy, it was my pleasure, and thank you.